Back when I was 24, I worked a closing shift at a mid-sized grocery store in the suburbs. It wasn't a terrible job, it was just mind-numbing, facing shelves, cleaning spills, doing all the tasks nobody wanted. The store closed at midnight, but since I was one of the younger employees, I almost always got stuck finishing the last checks. I usually didn't leave until around 12:30 or even 1 a.m. There was this guy who came in almost every night. He was tall and broad. He looked like mid-40s. He was always wearing an oversized work jacket like he'd just stepped straight off a construction site. I didn't think much of him at first because we had regulars. There was late-night drivers, insomniacs and bored people, but he was different. He never bought anything. He would just wander the aisles slowly with his hands in his pockets, stopping abruptly whenever he saw me. He'd stare for a long moment, like he was studying me, then nod once and keep walking. Sometimes he'd mumble a greeting. Other nights he wouldn't speak at all. I tried to shrug it off. Retail gets weird, people, but every night it escalated a little. He started showing up earlier, lingering in whatever department one was assigned to. One night I was stocking cereal, and when I looked up, he was standing at the end of the aisle, not moving, just watching. I told my manager, but he brushed it off. He's harmless. Probably lonely. Maybe he was right, but the way the guy looked at me, it seemed like he knew something I didn't, which always made my stomach twist. About 3 weeks into this pattern, he finally approached me. I was scanning expired items off a shelf when I heard his boots stop directly behind me. He cleared his throat. "You close tonight?" he asked. I didn't turn around at first. His voice sounded too close to rehearsed. "Yeah," I said. "Same as always." He nodded slowly, like that was the answer he expected. "Be careful walking out," he said. I forced a small laugh. "Why? Is someone out there?" He smiled at me, but the smile didn't match his eyes. His eyes looked relieved, almost excited. Then he said something that sent a cold prickle down my neck. "Just know that once you leave a place at night, it doesn't mean everything in there stays behind." I asked him what he meant, but he just turned and walked away. I thought about telling security, but by then it was close to closing. I just wanted to go home. When I finally clocked out around 12:40, the parking lot was mostly empty. The security guard had left early. As I stepped outside, I immediately recognized the man's jacket. He was standing across the lot, leaning against a light pole, staring directly at me. I pretended not to see him, then kept walking. I was maybe halfway to my car when I heard a sharp metallic clang behind me. I spun around and he was gone. Completely gone. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. The lot was silent. I unlocked my car fast and got in. For a moment I felt stupid for being scared. I told myself I was imagining things, but when I got home something happened that still makes my skin crawl. I went inside and locked the door, tossed my keys on the counter and started toward my room. When I noticed something on the carpet, dirt, small clumps, like someone had walked through fresh soil and tracked it inside, I froze. I hadn't stepped into anything. The grocery store had tiled floors. The parking lot was asphalt. I followed the trail, the little brown smudges leading from the front door straight to my bedroom. I stood there for a long time before grabbing a chair and sleeping in the living room with all the lights on. The next morning the dirt was gone. Not cleaned. Just gone. I quit that job a week later. I don't know who that man was or what he meant, but every night when I get home, I still check the carpet, just to make sure nothing else followed me. When I was 27, I rented a small one-bedroom apartment above a bakery in a quiet downtown area. It wasn't perfect. The floors creaked, the walls were thin, but the price was unbeatable and the owner was friendly. It felt like the kind of place young people lived before their real life started. For the first few weeks, everything was normal. I would hear the bakery prepping at dawn, smell the bread, and my favorite part was hearing the occasional couples arguing downstairs. Just normal life noise. But one night, around 3 a.m., everything changed. I woke up needing water and walked into the hallway. The second I stepped out of my room, something felt wrong. The hallway smelled like rain-soaked leaves. But the surprise was it hadn't rained in days. I looked down and saw a wet footprint on the old wooden floorboards. It was a barefoot and it wasn't mine. It was too large and too wide and it was pointed toward my bedroom. My heart jumped into my throat. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight and started following the prints. There were maybe 6 of them, spaced out like someone had walked carefully, trying not to make noise. They led right up to my bedroom door and stopped. I checked the entire apartment, every closet, every corner, under the bed and behind the shower curtain, and still found nothing. My door was still locked from the inside. The windows were latched. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning I went downstairs and casually asked the bakery owner if anything strange ever happened in the building. He shrugged and said the upstairs units had their quirks. That didn't help. A few days later, I woke up again at around 3 a.m. to the same smell, the same damp earth scent. This time, I didn't get out of bed. I listened, holding my breath, and I swear I heard breathing on the other side of my bedroom door. Slow, steady, deep, like someone was waiting there. I stayed in bed until sunrise. I worked from home, so around 10 a.m. I stepped out to grab coffee. When I opened my front door, something slid across the floor, a folded piece of paper. I picked it up, 3 words were written in shaky handwriting which I could not read. I stayed quiet. I moved out the following week. My new place is louder, messy, and way more expensive, but every night I check the floor, just to make sure it's clean. A few years ago, I worked part-time at a community center doing late evening cleanups. It wasn't hard. I wiped down tables, sweep floors, and lock all the rooms. The building was old, and when it got quiet at night, it felt like a museum of shadows. One night, after a youth basketball program ended, I was doing my final walkthrough when I heard a noise coming from the far end of the building. A dragging sound, slow but rhythmic, like someone pulling something heavy across the floor. I called out, expecting maybe one of the kids had come back for a water bottle or hoodie. No one answered. The dragging sound stopped. I walked toward the gym with my keys shaking in my hand. When I opened the door and turned on the lights, nothing was there. Just empty bleachers and a basketball rolling slowly across the court, as if it had been nudged. I picked it up and put it away, trying not to think too much. I finished closing up, shut off the lights, and headed to my car. The parking lot was quiet and half-lit. I drove home telling myself it was nothing. But when I pulled into my driveway, something made my stomach drop. Under the streetlight near my garage were faint chalk-white markings, lines drawn roughly across the pavement. At first I thought kids had been playing earlier, but when I stepped closer, I realized these weren't doodles, they were dragging marks. The same pattern I'd heard inside the community center. Same direction, same spacing, like something had been pulled across the asphalt, straight toward my house. The marks led all the way to my front steps. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys. I opened the door slowly, terrified of what I might find. But the house was silent, completely normal. I locked myself in my room that night. The next morning the drag marks were gone. Not faded, I mean gone. I've thought about it a lot since then. Whether something followed me from the center, whether it wanted to be noticed, whether it stopped because it didn't need to come inside. Not yet. And every now and then when I come home late, I listen carefully before I get out of my car, just to make sure nothing else is being dragged behind me.